You know, Will and I go back an awful long way. He was my first grandchild, my first boy. And he used to, we had a lot of employees at our business, and we also had tenants there in buildings that I leased out. And he would love to come there, and I tried to teach him about cars and everything else. He loved El Caminos. He liked the ones with the, you could get in the back. So he would come there, and all of the guys at lunch would put Coca-Cola cans up on the wall, and we had a BB gun in there. We had a bunch of rats, and we were always chasing them around. And he would take that BB gun, all the guys would shoot, and they'd miss the cans and make a heck of a mess of it. And he would get up there and pop every single can off the wall and became a hero. So to celebrate, we'd go into Van Butler's shop, which was an upholstery tenant of mine, and we'd wrap him in foam until he was this big. And then he'd get up on the bench and we'd give him a shove and he'd bounce across the room, laughing so hard you couldn't believe it. We'd pick him up and he'd say, again. We'd put him back up on the bench, and he'd do it 3 or 4 times. Fortunately, he never hit his head. Maybe he did, I don't know, but time will tell. So we had a ball with this kid because he was always game. He'd come in there and he'd decide he wanted to make a boat that day, and our machine shop had band saws and everything, and he could get in there and make anything he wanted to make, and he was so talented and skilled about it, but so opinionated. You'd try to help him and say, well, what about this? And he'd say, no, that's not my boat. That's not my airplane I'm making. And he would make these things, and they would be around the shop for months. And everybody admired him a lot because he was a kid that could dig in and walk into a machine shop and know what the machines were doing and what he wanted to do with them and make them do it. We had an old World War II bandsaw in there that we bought off a battleship because that was the best way to get this machinery cheap. And it's still there today, and every time I walk by that thing, I think, you know, there was William right there sawing out a wing for an airplane or making a boat bottom or something like that. And you'd try to say, hey, William, what about this? No, that's not what I'm doing. Oh, okay, how about you do this? No, he didn't want our advice, but boy, did he bring joy to that place. And I think most of my memories, other than seeing him at the beach and going to Hawaii to visit and so on and so forth, which was really fun, most of my memories were in the workshop. I even hired him to be the organizer in our 18-wheeler, and that thing would go out to the race and be unloaded with 20 cars and all this kind of stuff. And I remember Ontario, we set the truck up and got it out, and I walked up to the guy who was my general manager, and I said, so what are you doing? And he said, I'm doing nothing. William's running the show here. I said, he just started today. They said, no, never mind, he's got it. And he was organizing the unloading of the cars, the placement of all the parts and pieces, and he would go into the 18-wheeler and he would organize it like it was a closet full of beautiful clothes. And I thought to myself, you know, one of these days, and sadly we're not going to see that day now, but one of these days he's going to be here taking this over. So as a grandfather and as a guy who worked in that field my whole life, I'm going to miss that. I would love to be able to walk in there today and look around and see William running the joint and taking care of the machinery, and he knew the machinery. This kid could walk up to a lathe or a mill, and within 10 minutes he could operate it. And you couldn't tell him what to do. You'd say, no, you got to do this. No, Grandpa, I got this. And he was that kid. So when I think of him now, I think, he was an inspirational guy. Look at this room. I mean, everybody that's here is really happy to be here because of Will, and very sad to be here for the reason that we're here. But Will lives on, and I'll never forget the kid. He was hell on wheels and smarter than a whip. There's no question in my mind that Will was smarter than me and everybody in this room. And he would surely let you know it. And I love the guy and miss him a ton. And I see the pain that Audrey and everybody's going through, his poor little sister, whom he adored more than life itself. Poppy, you were his dream. You were everything to Will. And I can remember the pictures of him looking at you and holding you sitting on the beach with you and so on and so forth. And that was, you could see, this is a guy who clearly struggled and brought us here today. But that guy was so full of love. This guy loved people, and he loved his sister and his mom and Matt and everybody in his life. And yet he was locked inside. He had a very difficult time letting it out. And yet when he did, it was so glorious. And I am so proud of this kid. I'm sorry he's not here today with us laughing about something. But we're here. We loved him dearly. And look at this crowd. I mean, this crowd ranges from a shaking old man that's blind in one eye to young people that adore this kid. So while he was here, he was loved as much as anybody. And make no mistake, he was very skilled, very talented, and very, very opinionated. And we loved him for all of them.
We love that.
So thank you.
Yeah.